This is CBC Nova Scotia News.
Tonight, Halifax Encampment evictions. A new report calls for a public apology for what it calls a day of chaos 2021.
Combating anti-Black racism, Halifax launches a new grant program in consultation with African Nova Scotian communities.
And in full bloom, a Cape Breton couple lives their dream of running a U-Pick flower farm.
Another terrific day shaping up across the province on Thursday. High pressure still dominating. We'll see some clouds rolling in through Friday with a system set for the weekend. Your full forecast is coming up.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us for an abbreviated version of CBC Nova Scotia News due to the Paralympics coverage. We begin tonight with the Halifax Police Board's discussion on a new report today about the controversial homeless encampment evictions 3 years ago.
The report says decisions by the Halifax Regional Police and the municipality led to a day of chaos. It recommends a public apology, but the city and police have not committed to that yet. The CBC's Haley Ryan has our top story tonight.
The report says the events of August 18th, 2021 were disastrous for the city and the residents of Halifax. It says Halifax police made the decision to clear tents and shelters from the Memorial Library on the fly. That wasn't part of the original plan. Some officers voiced concerns about going ahead as protesters gathered. But the report says they weren't listened to. It offers 37 recommendations for HRP, the police board, and the city. Chief Don McLean, who is new in the role, says he couldn't commit to an apology or comment on specific recommendations yet.
I really don't want to look at this report through the rearview mirror. I'm going to look to this report through the front view mirror in terms of determining what it is that we can do on a future-focused basis to allow us to do things better.
The report says a major error was Halifax Police's decision to not withdraw and de-escalate the situation. It says that option should be spelled out in all operational plans.
The ability to de-escalate or withdraw should always be in the toolbox as a potential option given the circumstances at the time. I don't think anyone would take issue with that.
The review was done by a team of Toronto lawyers who interviewed dozens of people involved in the event. But key people, including former police chief Dan Kinsella and former CAO Jacques Dubé, did not participate. On Wednesday, the police board told HRP to assess the recommendations and come back with a report.
I think it's early days, and a lot of the report, of course, relates to what the police did wrong at the event. And not all of it, but a lot of it relates to that. And I think it's appropriate for the police to take time to digest those recommendations.
The board also asked Regional Council to request a staff report on the review. Council will discuss that later this month. The municipality says significant changes have already been made in how Halifax deals with people who are homeless and the closure of camps. The report calls for a new working group of police, people who are homeless, and service groups. But that likely won't start until the new year, given the upcoming municipal election. Haley Ryan, CBC News, Halifax.
Halifax Regional Police say human remains were found near Long Lake Provincial Park in Halifax yesterday. Police said in a news release that they were called to the area on Old Sambro Road early Tuesday afternoon to respond to a report of remains being found. Officers taped off several entry points to the park late yesterday, but the tape has since been removed. The remains have not been positively identified, but police say there is currently no evidence of foul play.
A Nova Scotia school teacher made her first court appearance today on a number of serious sex offenses against a young person. Police have also laid a new charge against Nicole McLeod. Blair Rhodes reports.
This is the first day of school for most teachers in this province, but 36-year-old Nicole McLeod found herself in a courtroom, not a classroom, after having spent the last few days in jail. She was arrested on the weekend, accused of breaching the conditions of her release for serious sexual assault charges. Ms. McLeod, do you have anything to say? The Crown alleges that she sexually assaulted a student, and the charges include sexual assault, sexual interference, sexual exploitation, and making sexually explicit material available to a child. She allegedly emailed photos of herself to the child. She is a teacher at Tatamagouche Regional Academy, but she's been suspended since these allegations were made back in June. The allegations cover a period of May and June of this year. McLeod has been released now to live with somebody in DeBert who will make sure she abides by her conditions, which include house arrest, staying off the internet, and having no contact with her alleged victim. The case returns here to court in October. Blair Rhodes, CBC News, Truro.
Quick check on the weather forecast now with Ryan Snoddon.
Yeah, and so far so good with September.
Oh, it's been a fantastic start to the month. It's a fantastic day today, though a chilly start to the day. We did dip into the 4-5 range, Sheet Harbor, the Malay Fall Station there, and Truro at 5, and you can see Shelburne at 5 as well. So it was a cool start this morning. Took a while to get the engine revving, but once we did, what a day. Temperatures low to mid-20s across the board, and it's going to be warmer over the next couple of days as those winds kick in from the southwest. This area of high pressure moving off to the east, that will open the door and allow those southwest winds to move in. And yeah, that is definitely going to be favorable for our temperatures. Keeping an eye on this system here, that is looking more and more likely to bring us some wet and windy weather for Saturday. We'll talk more about that coming up. For Thursday, we are again looking at those temperatures ranging between 23 and 26 degrees, a little cooler in those southwest winds, which will be around 20 kilometers per hour, maybe some gusts up to 30 into the afternoon and some gusts to 40 for Cape Breton. There's that high. Moving off to the east, as we said, fog patches tomorrow morning. Those will dissipate, and then, yeah, off to the races. Some high clouds starting to filter in throughout the day on Friday, then lower cloud into the afternoon, and there is that system. And you can see all those kind of yellow and darker greens here. That's indicating the potential for some heavier downpours with this. And yes, those winds, which may gust as strong as 50, 60, even 70 kilometers per hour, not out of the question with this one. So we'll talk more about that and the fact that the weekend will not be a washout with your full forecast coming up.
Like to hear more about that for sure. Okay, thanks so much, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
Federal New Democratic Party has ended its agreement to support the Liberals. Justin Trudeau's minority government has counted on the NDP to remain in power.
The CBC's Ashley Burke looks at why leader Jagmeet Singh is pulling the plug and what it could mean for election timing.
The Liberals are too weak, too selfish, and too beholden to corporate interests.
A new campaign-style video announcing a very public political breakup.
Today, I notified the Prime Minister that I've ripped up the supply and confidence agreement.
Through that agreement, the NDP propped up the Liberal government for almost 2.5 years in return for commitments on NDP priorities like dental and pharmacare. But Jagmeet Singh says the deal is dead.
The Liberals have let people down. They don't deserve another chance.
We want to send a clear message to Justin Trudeau.
Last month, Singh joined locked-out rail workers on the picket line and slammed the government for intervening and forcing arbitration. The NDP said that issue is just one example why it scrapped the deal with Justin Trudeau.
I'm focused on Canadians. I'll let the other parties focus on politics.
Trudeau faced questions about what it all means and if it's time for an election.
An election will come in the coming year, hopefully not till next fall, because in the meantime, we're going to deliver for Canadians, and the contrast with a Conservative leader that wants to cut dental care, cut the school food program.
The Conservatives leader called the NDP's move a stunt and challenged Singh to vote with him.
My message to sellout Singh is this. If you're serious about ending your costly carbon tax coalition with Trudeau, then commit today to voting for a carbon tax election.
The end of this deal doesn't trigger an automatic, immediate election. The Liberals can negotiate on a case-by-case basis with the NDP if they will support them on votes, or also turn to other parties to try and keep themselves in power. No matter what, there has to be an election by next fall, and now that could happen even sooner. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
Halifax has launched an important part of its anti-black racism strategy, and it wants the African Nova Scotian community to play a big role. The city has established a new grant program that will fund community ideas to tackle racism issues. Those could include things like workshops, original artwork, or even radio and television broadcasts. Gareth Hampshire has the story.
Halifax's African Nova Scotian Affairs Integration Office has been developing its anti-black racism plan for several years, starting out by consulting with the communities most impacted by discrimination, hoping to empower them by funding their ideas to make change.
I think it can make, a tremendous difference. Like I see a lot of, storytelling coming out of this. I see a lot of, awareness and education coming from this initiative and this program.
It's one of the ways the city's acknowledging and trying to address systemic racism. Its website notes apologies have been made for tearing down the historic black community of Africville, as well as the now banned practice of street checks.
There's so many examples of anti-black racism that have, impacted community and set community back, several years in many ways. So it's important that we're being proactive about this work.
The application period for the program only just opened at the beginning of the month, but it's already attracting interest.
I love the idea about the support.
Former professional basketball player Chris Johnson runs an anti-racism basketball tournament. He started after the killing of George Floyd in 2020.
I wanted to use my platform, which I thought was basketball, to bring awareness to a situation.
The first one was held where he's from in North Preston, and since then, he believes thousands of kids and their parents have heard his message.
Kids leave out making friends. You learn a positive message. Parents as well come in surprised about what's taking place within it. So I think we've been able to bring a light to the fight.
Projects need to align with a range of areas, from racial segregation to negative portrayal in the media. As well as media initiatives, original art and research, workshops and events also fit the criteria. Social worker and meditation coach Tanya McHarg wants to put forward a plan to help people who are victims of racism.
Very passionate about supporting people to heal from lots of things, racial trauma being one, by using meditation, mindfulness, healing circles.
She points out the black community can only do so much, and bigger changes are still needed throughout society. Russell Brooks is looking forward to seeing the applications, which can be submitted until the end of October. Those who are selected will find out next February during African Heritage Month. Gareth Hampshire, CBC News, Halifax.
Premier Tim Houston says a new deal between his government and Google is another way it is improving healthcare. The province is paying Google $42 million for enhanced search functions. One emergency room doctor says this will save time when it comes to gleaning information from medical histories, giving doctors more time with patients.
If I was to say, when is the patient in front of me next due for a colonoscopy? I'd like to have that piece of information. That may or may not be documented somewhere in that chart. It might have been a record from a community visit I don't have access to, etc. This would be a tool that I would know for sure very quickly if that piece of information is actually in the chart or not. So I think it's significant time savings, and I think it's also making sure every possible piece of information I think I need, I have immediately available to me.
Figuring out how to search our own information, great. I don't know that warrants a big announcement. I don't know that that's going to shift the needle for Nova Scotians who are looking for access to primary care, who are hoping for an open emergency room or a wait time of less than, several hours.
Chender says better search tools are not what Nova Scotians are clamoring for when they call for better health care. Well, a little over a year ago, a couple from British Columbia packed up their belongings and moved to Cape Breton. Now they're running their own farm and making their dreams blossom. Erin Potty reports.
There's a field in Big Brador that's bursting at the seams with yellow sunflowers. The flower patch was planted last spring as an experiment by a couple who moved to Cape Breton wanting to become farmers.
And they did bloom, and so kind of on a whim, we put out an invitation for folks to come and pick flowers, and we had over 1,000 people come in 5 days, and it was just so joyful.
Percy Ager and her wife Clary Ager bought an older home on 5 acres of land and have named it Ager Lane Flower Farm. Today wraps up their second annual Sunflower U-Pick.
I think we've had a mix of people who are here for the experience, and then also some folks who are really into flowers and into growing flowers.
People were invited to come with clippers and scissors and a vase or jar and take the flowers home with them. They can also snap family pics or take a walk along a wildflower meadow that's been planted to help local pollinators.
We thought 1 or 2 people would come. Percy took the week off work and was going to paint the house. Well, the house never got painted during that time, and instead we had 1,000 people. So it was just kind of an idea. You know, you see strawberry U-picks out here, you see pumpkin U-picks, but to our knowledge, we were the first U-pick in Cape Breton for sunflowers, which was really exciting.
The women are now hoping their experience encourages more people to give farming a try.
We've had lots of folks, especially younger folks, say, this is something I've wanted to do, but I've just never seen anyone talk about it that looks like you or that is my age. So I think it's already starting to work.
The couple are now beginning renovations on an old barn on their property, and they have some advice to others wanting to follow their dreams.
Advice? It was terrifying to leave everything that we had, like our friends and our family, but it has worked out, and I think things are less of a life sentence than you think, right? If it hadn't worked out, we could have moved back, but I don't see us going anywhere anytime soon.
The Agers have since created a garden where they'll sell other cut flowers, and next year hope to open an event space where they'll host weddings and receptions. Erin Potty, CBC News, Big Brador.
It's kind of pretty.
Some beautiful scenery, yeah.
Well, Nova Scotia athlete Katie Pegg had a standout day at the Paralympic Games in Paris. The 20-year-old St. Mary's University student placed 7th in the F6 shot put competition.
It is her first games, and she only started training in earnest really around this time last year. She says she hopes her journey will inspire other young para-athletes.
You just have to go out there and show everyone what you can do, because too many times people will look at us and say no because you have something a little different about you, and we don't get those fair opportunities. So at the end of the day, it's your story, it's yours to write, and don't let anyone else tell you what you can and can't do, because you know your limits and what you're capable of. They don't.
Peg will return to Halifax next week, but she says she's already got her eyes on competing in 2028 when the games go to Los Angeles.
Isn't that beautiful? There's a look at Walton today, and Ryan is back next with his full weather forecast. We'll see you in a few.
Yes, September off to a great start. I don't think anyone would be disappointed with the weather today.
Like, keep fall going like this as long as you can.
For sure. Quiet,
Yeah.
quiet,
Oh,
quiet.
especially for you, right?
Yeah.
It's your
Listen,
busy time.
It can't last forever. Saturday does look quite unsettled with rain and wind, and so we'll be timing that out in just a moment. Let's start with the sunshine and where we are right now, and a beautiful shot there from Truro. And it is a fine evening indeed in Lower Truro, to be exact. Beautiful sunny skies there. We've got temperatures right around 21 degrees. And yeah, it was a cool start, 5 degrees in Truro this morning, but it did rebound quite nicely. And you can see temperatures into the low 20s across the board right now. Some high teens out there as well, but it is indeed absolutely lovely. Enjoy. As we look at the satellite radar picture, hardly a cloud in the sky, and that'll be the case again for tonight. Few fog patches developing overnight tonight, but overall that area of high pressure is just going to keep things super quiet. This is indeed the low we're going to be watching, and not just us watching that low, but the National Hurricane Center highlighting that area in yellow and saying a 10% chance of tropical cyclone formation over the next 48 hours and a 20% chance over the next 7 days. Basically saying there is the small chance that some tropical characteristics may develop in and around this low, and so we'll be keeping an eye on that. All this to say, it does have the potential to bring some heavier rain and some gustier winds for us for this weekend. Not overly concerned about it, but certainly something we're gonna have to keep an eye on, especially if you do have some weekend plans. Temperatures ranging between 8 and 12 for tonight with those winds light, and tomorrow, another fantastic day. Cape Breton ranging between 23 and 26 degrees. Those water temps still hanging into the 20s. So if you're off, a beach day, I dare say, especially down through Inverness into Port Hood and across the North Shore tomorrow, it's going to be beautiful. Temperatures 25, 26, 27 degrees. And again, water temps nice and toasty there as well. 23 degrees in Halifax, and back into the valley, we'll be into the mid-20s. Kedgie near 26 tomorrow, and with that southwest wind from Yarmouth down through Shelburne to Liverpool and Lunenburg, high teens, low 20s in those onshore southwest winds. Friday looks terrific as well, though we will see some increasing cloud cover throughout the day. High-level cloud likely filtering in the morning and then lowering and lowering throughout the day, becoming pretty cloudy by day's end if you've got some Friday evening plans. There again is the high cloud, and then, yeah, you can see as we work throughout the day, just a whole lot of white on the board, which is that cloud cover. Note the arrows here. Coming in will be those winds through the Friday night time frame along with the rain. And we'll be watching perhaps for some gusts upwards of 50, 60, maybe 70 kilometers per hour along parts of the coast. That shouldn't be a problematic wind for us, not expecting, widespread outages with that type of a wind, but the trees are loaded with leaves right now, and so won't take much to maybe knock a branch into a line, and so that's something we'll have to at least keep in mind for Saturday, particularly in through the later stages of the day as that low gets closer, and those winds do look set to crank up a little bit towards the Saturday afternoon and Saturday evening time frame. That low will then work off to the north, and in its wake, we'll get into this sector of the system here, which is kind of a cloudy one, maybe an isolated spit of a shower, but overall not overly concerned about a wet day carrying into Sunday. In fact, I do think we'll even run the potential to see a few sunny breaks on Sunday. Temperatures pretty favorable as well, near 24 degrees. So half a weekend, not too bad. We need to get some inside stuff done on Saturday anyway, right? That list is always long, especially with the kids back to school tomorrow. And it does look like a great day for that. Have to mention that, of course. Now, Monday, Tuesday, looking pretty good as well. And Wednesday, yeah, some clouds building in, but it looks like a pretty favorable week shaping up for next week as well. So, yeah, enjoy the next couple of days. And to all the kids going back to school, get there safely. And remember, for folks driving as well, buses, kids on the roads, that's a big adjustment for everybody tomorrow morning, so do be safe.
Yeah, keep an eye out.
September. Okay, thanks so much, Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
All right, we've got time for one more story tonight. Nova Scotia marathon runner Ryan Keeping was attempting to run across PEI from Elmira to Tignish in less than 46 hours, but unfortunately, he had to call it quits.
Yeah, that's right. He was trying to beat the fastest known time for running the length of the Confederation Trail. Early this morning, Keeping posted a video to his Facebook page saying he wasn't going to make it. At that point, he still had 80 kilometers to go. And yesterday, he started dealing with pain in his hips.
He tried to push through it, but ultimately he had to throw in the towel. Keeping says he will be back to try the run again at some point in the future.
Can't blame the guy for bad hips and all
All
that.
in all, like I think he probably got quite a few kilometers in.
He saw a lot
before
of
he had to quit.
PEI, didn't he?
Yeah, that's true.
All right, listen, we may be delayed again tomorrow due to the Paralympics coverage. Thank you for your patience tonight, by the way. But if you don't see us at 6 tomorrow, we will be on at 6:30.
Right.
Again, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Good night.
Take care.